Yes, the general manager drama between the Minnesota Vikings and the crooked Chicago Bears is going to carry over for a number of years, or at least until, I don't know, Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus get fired in Chicago after 3 seasons. Got him. But the whole Kwesi and Poles were the 2 finalists for the Vikings job. Poles took the Bears job because he knew that he wasn't getting the Vikings job. Blah, 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 blah. But the Bears seemingly are obsessed with the Minnesota Vikings, and it's starting to get a little bit weird. Just a little bit, because the Bears, Kevin Fishbane, Bears beat writer, the Bears announced they signed defensive back Harrison Hand to their practice squad, a 2020 fifth-round pick by the Vikings. Hand has played in 23 NFL games. Now, I loved Harrison Hand, the pride of Temple, formerly of Waco, Baylor as well, and whenever he was on the field, good things seemed to happen. But he was caught up in regime change, and the Vikings piled in Caleb Evans as well as Andrew Booth Jr., the draft pick. So, Harrison Hand was shown the door. It just kind of sucks, but it is what it is. He was on the Giants practice squad for a second, and then the Bears yanked him up to their practice squad. Now, if only the Bears were as obsessed with former Texas Tech Red Raiders players as they are with former Vikings players. It's just kind of crazy, man. It's kind of crazy. Remember, they drafted Mitchell Trubisky-Ponder over this. It's amazing, man. But now the Bears have 9 former Vikings in their sphere, whether it be on the roster, practice squad, injured reserve, etc. So Harrison Hand is the latest. He spent a handful of seasons with the Vikings, currently on the practice squad. Armand for Watts was a waiver claim. Vikings sort of shockingly waived him right before the start of the season as 53-man roosters were being trimmed down. And in his debut for the Bears, just getting into their defense for a couple weeks, he played well against the Niners in a rotational role, played 21 snaps, had 2 tackles, 2 pressures, 70.9 PFF pass rushing grade. And I understand Watts was going into a contract year, and the Vikings saved about $2.54 million in cap space. And also, Armand, he isn't a true 5-tech, but the Vikings are playing a multiple front defense anyway, so they could have found a role for him. Not that I'm still bitter. Nah. And then the Bears, they have had a myriad of offensive line issues. They signed up Riley Reef as some veteran depth. Reef, of course, was with the Vikings after formerly being a first-round pick by the Lions. Vikings paid him some good money. He bounced around, went to the Bengals last year, whatever. ISM, Amir Smith-Marset. So, speaking of regime change, so Smith-Marset, a 5th-round pick in 2021, Spielman draft pick, and Kwesi was very much like, getting rid of all the Spielman draft picks. Of course, the trade for Jalen Reagor from the Eagles, as well as the drafting of Jalen Naylor in the 6th round. Kwesi's own draft pick, maybe writing was on the wall for ISM. But I do think that given the Bears' wide receiver room, ISM will quickly become a contributor in that department. And then you got Trevor Siemian. Yes, the brain trust, former Northwestern quarterback, staying in the Windy City, who's Vikings backup, Kirk Cousins' first year in 2018. Kari Blossengame, if you remember him, he was a UDFA out of Vanderbilt in 2019. He was a tailback at Vandy. They converted him to fullback, much akin to C.J. Ham, but he wasn't going to get the time of day here because the Vikings have C.J. Ham. Then eventually he was picked up by the Tennessee Titans. He blocked for Derrick Henry. It's kind of funny, man. But Kerry Blossengame, currently the Bears fullback. Then you got DeMarquise Gates, former XFL superstar, or was the AAF? Doesn't matter. But he was in training camp with the Vikings in 2020, currently on the practice squad. And then you got 2 Vikings legends currently on the Bears injured reserve. You got Tajay Sharp, who spent 1 season with the Vikings 2020, as well as Dakota Dozier. The former Furman Paladin spent 3 years with the Vikings, was a starter for most of that time, and just like, okay. But unfortunately, he got hurt in the offseason. But he probably would have been starting at guard for them right now. But either way, this is kind of weird. Like, I understand the recent additions, because Armand for Watts is on paper going to be a starter for the Bears. ISM is going to contribute. Harrison Hand is a nice pickup as well. Plus, you're getting the Vikings playbook on offense from ISM and the Vikings playbook on defense from Watts and Harrison Hand, and the Bears and the Vikings do get it on week 5. But it's starting to get weird, man. Starting to get weird. You are an obsession. We are an obsession. It's kind of weird. Anyways, Vikings Bears get it on week 5, and the Vikings, I mean, the first stanza of the season, it gets pretty sporty. Already got one up on the Packers. Then you got 3 home games, and they're all against your division rival. So you can start out of the gate very fast, get off to a beautiful head start in the NFC North race. And then you got only 2 true road games at Philly, Monday Night Football Week 2. Phenomenal, big-time game. And then you're at the Dolphins Week 6. And then you're playing the Saints at Tottenham Stadium in London for the very, very early window game, Week 4. So, I mean, the Vikings have a fantastic opportunity to start out of the gate fast and really control their own destiny in the NFC. But I don't know. Again, this is weird. Like, this whole thing is weird. Like, hey, Poles is basically saying, I wish I would have stayed in the race for the Vikings job as opposed to just giving it to Kwesi by default, even though Kwesi was probably going to get that job anyway. But, again, is what it is. Again, why are you so obsessed with me? It's how it is sometimes. The hate is because of anus. There you go. But your thoughts are thoughts. Why are the crooked Chicago Bears just picking up former Vikings left and right? Why are they so obsessed with us? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.